Hello and welcome. This is Grant Hughes of Grant Hughes Investigates on YouTube. This channel evaluates all aspects of true crime. As you are aware, videos and live streams in this genre often discuss elements of crime that may be disturbing to some viewers. If necessary, take the precautions needed to avoid these feelings. Factual information related to cases is the key to fostering rational true crime discussions. Fortunately, you will find that here. Please hit the like button only once, share the video, and subscribe if you like my content. Thank you very much for watching.
Huh? It's a house!
Did you hear what I said? You know, that's just one step above stupid. 5 brain cells, 4 aren't working. Come on, man. What's wrong with you? Have you lost the last 3 brain cells, or do you just have cabbage for brains? There's mosquitoes the size of bald eagles in that dadgum swamp.
Huh?
There we go. That's better. That's better. Oh! Man, you guys should have seen this, what happened with Chloe. So, like, after the show was over, I put the last show. I put Chloe and, let's see, Clancy and Benny on the couch with the other 2 dogs, and they were sitting there, and then Clancy started moving around too much, and then Chloe just went, ah! I mean, just went right over with both of her paws and like pushed him against the couch. I mean, it was the craziest thing ever. He went like this. Clancy went like this. You know, like and like laid against, because she was like, ah! I mean, just absolutely, it was a totally different sound. Never seen Chloe do that before. But yeah, Chloe won that one. That was pretty amazing. I wish I had filmed it. I tried to get my camera and recreate the situation, but it didn't happen. But that was pretty crazy. Anyways, I've been trying to go through the all of the information, like different days of trial and so forth, and putting together like the actual timeline. It's pretty crazy. There's stuff you have to approximate because there isn't really, but it's implied. So well, I just wanted to go through it and see what you guys thought. And just like every other show, if you're watching and you want to help support the channel, there's always the coffees and the super chats. And as you know, we're struggling mightily, so hopefully something. But anyways, we're just trying to, I'm just going to go through this. I think it's, let me move this out of the way. Yeah, not sure where to put that. No, I guess it's not real. Well, it's in the way there. Maybe just make it small. Make myself smaller. There you go. So on the screen we have the Google Earth and the timeline over here. I can't believe that people are still really just focusing on the Karen Reed case. I've never seen anything like it. I mean, like, thousands of people watching. It's just, you know, it's another case. I just don't understand the appeal. We went over it a couple times. I mean, it's sort of interesting. Like, oh, okay, who knows, right? But it's, I don't know. I mean, I guess we're going over this again, but I haven't done this before, this timeline. I mean, it's really, like, look at that. I mean, it goes, it's pretty big here. You get confetti when you do the coffee? Yeah. I don't know. But, yeah, it's available. All right, so let's get going here. and we'll use the map for it. So 12:15, Bree and her 3 friends were at the Freedom Bridge and headed to the Monenhigh Bridge. But you know that Richard Allen said he was there at 12 and left at 1:30 in his second story. Yeah, the original story was 1 to 3, and then in the same conversation with Doolin, he switched it to 1:30 to 3:30. But then when he was arrested, he said 12 to 1:30. So right here we have Bree Wilbur and her 3 friends were at the Freedom Bridge and headed to the Monenhigh Bridge. They were right here and they were headed to the Monenhigh Bridge. Then at 12:43 p.m., Bree Wilbur and her 3 friends were at the Monenhigh Bridge and took a picture right here. They did not see the bridge guy during this time. So all the time that they'd been there, they hadn't seen the bridge guy. Then at 1:15 p.m., then at 1:15, sort of in between there, I calculated that Richard Allen leaves his house right here to make his way to the bridge. And let's see, I've got it right here. So if you look at this is the route I believe Richard Allen took, and it takes 11 minutes. That's it. So he leaves from his residence, and I have him leaving at 1:15-ish, something like that. And he drives this direction, north on, I think it's 400 here, and then he's on 300, and then parks at the abandoned CPS building. So it takes 11 minutes, and so maybe that would make this 1:16, right? So 1:16, he leaves his house, and then 11 minutes later, he drives by and parks at, all the way around. On this map, he'd be going like this, up like this, and around. And then he drove by the Hoosier Harvest Store, and then parks right there. Even if you stop it here, it still says 11 minutes, so it's really quick to get from here to there. All right, that's 1:16 p.m. Then at 1:26 p.m., so at 1:16 p.m. he leaves his home, and then at 1:26 p.m. there's 3 girls right here at the bench. Those same 4 girls are at the bench right here. And then at 1:27 and 35 seconds, Richard Allen drives by the Hoosier Harvest Store, and then gets here probably at 1:28, you would think. So I guess we could 1:28, and then likely gets out of his car. I would say, I guess I don't have that part in there. I can't really put that there. So 1:27:35, he passes the Hoosier Harvest Store, and then at 1:31 p.m. to 2:08, there are 1,682 steps taken. All right, but if you look at it, 613 meters were from the Mears parking to the platform number 3, where the image of Abby was taken, and we know that that image was taken at 2:07, so it's only 613 meters, so approximately 94 of the meters were at the home before arriving at the trail. So the girls were over here at the Patty's house, and that means they walked something like 90 meters. Now, it could have been 80 meters, and the girls didn't walk absolutely straight down the, but some of these steps are at home because they hadn't left the home yet. It's 1:31. It only takes 11 minutes to get from there to about 10 or 11 minutes to get from Mike and Becky's house to the trails. So they hadn't left the house yet because they got there at 1:49. Remember that? So and then it said at 1:33 p.m. Richard Allen passes the 4 girls. So after Richard Allen parks his car, maybe sits in there, gets ready, walks out, and then about 1:33, I just have an approximate time, he passes the 4 girls right here as they were nearing the Freedom Bridge. The girls said it was warmer day, and he was dressed in many layers and had a heavy jacket. He was walking with a purpose, like he knew where he was going. All right, then at 1:37 p.m. is the approximate time Kelsey, Libby, and Abby left the house. So there were 6 minutes of those steps or while they're still at the house. Then at 1:37, they leave the home, and then at 1:38, Kelsey called her boyfriend, her then boyfriend. Now, they used to use that as the time she had dropped off the girls, but I think Kelsey likely called her boyfriend as she was leaving the home and talked to him, because it's actually a phone record at 1:38. Hey, thanks, Jessica Schubach. Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty interesting, this. So 1:38, Kelsey called her, where's that showing up? Kelsey called her then boyfriend. And then at 1:38 and 49 seconds, Libby called her father. So isn't that, they're in the car right now. At 1:38, Kelsey called her boyfriend. And then 50 seconds later, Libby called her father. She had him listed as Daddy O in her contact list. This call lasted 35 seconds. Okay, so that means at 1:39 and 8 seconds, Libby's phone was charging. And then at 1:30, so her phone was plugged in and charging at the same time she's talking to her dad. And then at 1:39 and 24 seconds, the call to her daddy ends. To Daddy O ends. That's her dad. So from 1:38 to 1:39, 1:38 and 49 seconds to 1:39 and 24 seconds. I think that makes sense. She's on the phone with her dad, but also it shows that her phone was charging at 1:39:08, so it's plugged in somewhere in the vehicle. And then at 1:39 and 30 seconds, so just 6 seconds after the phone call with her dad, there's an interaction with the messaging app. And then at 1:39 and 45 seconds, there's a Snapchat viewing. So it's almost like she's opening up Snapchat or messaging, whatever it is, and then I think, so at 1:39 and 49 seconds, she looks at Snapchat viewing, and I say, perhaps, this is when Libby saw the Bree Snapchat image, was at the bridge. So when Bree posted the image of herself with her friends at the bridge, that's when Libby said, hey, are you guys still at the bridge? But she didn't see it right away. That's just when she saw it. So at 1:39 and 45 seconds is when she saw that image. Now, if we remember, at 1:26, the girls are at the bench here. Then they pass Richard Allen probably at 1:33, and then 6 minutes later, probably, they're hanging out over here for a little bit, and then at about 1:44, they cross here. So it's amazing how it's like almost like when they're right there is when they reply to Libby's text message and say, oh, we left 10 minutes ago. I mean, it works perfectly. So it's like 1:38, or not, let's see, let me go back up. Yeah, 1:39 and 45 seconds, that's when she was viewing the Snapchat. So let's say at 1:49, they said we left 10 minutes ago. So that'd be 5 minutes after they cross over the old State Road 25. It'd be nice to have the actual time frame, but I'm just guessing that that's what that is. See, Libby probably didn't look at her phone, and then she saw the Snapchat while she was in the car, because they had just left the house, and that makes sense. Hey, are you still there? And then she says, no, we left 10 minutes ago. Because, well, let's see, at 1:39, so that means she didn't see it till, let's see, if that was at 1:39 less 10 minutes ago. Yeah, okay, so that's what, I guess that's the logic I'm trying to say. At 1:39 and 45 seconds, she messages them, and I think they are just walking like this down the trail when she says, oh, we left 10 minutes ago. Well, I mean, I guess it's hard to say it like that. So 1:39, they're over here, but they say they left 10 minutes ago. I don't know, it's hard to explain it, but like if you look at it like this, at 1:39 and 45 seconds, that's when Libby was in the car interacting with Snapchat, and I think that's when she messaged Bree and said, are you still at the bridge? And then Bree told Libby they had left about 10 minutes ago. So that means that 129 is when, basically they're saying they left, and that's so close to this 126. They're at the bench and they're walking away. So I think that's exactly what that time frame is. Hey, thanks, Martian Bigfoot. All right. And then at 1:41 and 44 seconds, Libby posted a picture. So while sitting in the car still, she posted a picture to Snapchat, sticking her tongue out, and she's in the front passenger seat. And then at 1:43 and 49 seconds, so about 2 minutes later, while still driving, they're about 6 minutes, 5.5 minutes away from reaching the, or at least Libby or Kelsey driving by the Hoosier Harvest store. She posted a picture of herself smiling from the passenger seat, and then Abby's in the back seat with a blank expression. Then at 1:44 p.m. approximately, Richard Allen reaches the Monon High Bridge. So after Richard Allen was right here and he passed the three girls, he walks all the way down here, and about 1:44, this is an approximation, he reaches the Monon High Bridge. Also at 1:44, Betsy Blair drives under the old State Road 25. So that means she's going underneath this right now and looks up and sees those four girls. And then at 1:46 p.m., Betsy Blair drives around and then passes the Hoosier Harvest store right here. Betsy Blair drives by the Hoosier Harvest store on her way to park across from the Mears Farm. She had just used the bathroom at the Delphi Library and was going to do her third loop, because I guess she does like 3 different loops. And the loop is that you park your car at the Mears property, you walk to the Monon High Bridge, you turn around, you walk back. Here, I'll show you on a map. So her loop would be park here, walk to the bridge, come back up here, go partially down the 505 trail, then back up, then to the Freedom Bridge here, and then back to her car. That would be a loop. All right, so at 1:46, Betsy Blair drives by the Hoosier Harvest store on her way to park across from the Mears Farm. She had just used the bathroom at the Delphi Library and was going to do her third loop. She parked her car and headed to the Monon High Bridge. And then at 1:49 p.m., so you got a picture, Betsy Blair parks, starts walking. Then at 1:49, just a couple minutes later, Kelsey drives by. Apparently, she says she waits here and watches them walk this direction. And then she goes this direction and passes the Hoosier Harvest store at 1:49. And that means the girls are also walking down the trail, and Betsy Blair's a little bit further down at that point. Then at 1:53 p.m., Betsy arrives at the bridge. So after getting out of her vehicle here at about 1:46, she's probably walking at a good pace. Takes 6 minutes to walk to the bridge. She gets there at 1:53. And then she turns around. She actually only goes to the barricade there, though. Then at 1:56, she turns around. And then halfway back, passes Abby and Libby at 1:56. And then at 2 p.m., Abby and Libby make it to the start of the bridge. And then at 2:02, Brad Weber leaves the... it's weird how there's these things moving around that matter, but nobody knows anything about that at the time. But he's at the Subaru plant here in Lafayette. And if you look at this, it says right here that it takes, 28 minutes without traffic on this route. Now, everybody knows, like, you're in this rural town here, it's only 21.7 miles. Does anybody think it would take him 28 minutes? I think, if you're driving 60 miles an hour, it would take 21 minutes, right? If you drive 55 miles an hour, it would take like 22. Hardly anybody goes 40 miles, the exact speed limit that's on the signs, especially when you live there. And these are all highways here, so I can't imagine. Right here isn't, but These are highways, and then you make it, he actually drives by Richard Allen's house on that route right there. So that would be 28 minutes is what that said. Hey, don't forget to get me some coffees out there, you guys. Bradway leaves work at the Subaru near Lafayette. Okay. Then at 2:05, there's a Snapchat picture of the bridge. And it's 2:05 and 20 seconds. Now, some of these outlets report it wrong. They say, Libby, they arrived at the bridge and took a picture at 2:05 of the full bridge. And it just isn't true. That isn't accurate. We figured out years ago, I mean, literally within the first 2 months of the case, that the image taken by Libby of the full length of bridge was actually after platform 2, just right in that location. So they had already been on the bridge for a while. So if Abby and Libby got to the start of the bridge at 2, I could see it being about 5 minutes later to be right there, given the fact that Abby'd never been there and she walks slowly. So 2:05 and 20 seconds. There's a Snapchat picture of the bridge with no people on it. And the note said that was before they started crossing. That's not true. They were past platform 2. Then at 2:07:20 p.m., that's the last time her phone was unlocked. So it's interesting because 2:07 p.m. is when the second Snapchat image of Abby was listed as. That's what the general consensus was. It was at 2:07 and 20 seconds. That was the last time the phone was unlocked. So literally she unlocked the phone, took the picture, and then it says at 2:08 to 2:18 there are 414 meters walked. So it's going to be after the photo was taken near platform 3 is when another 414 meters were walked. Hey, thanks Dennis Miller for becoming an Oogla Boogla freak. Hey, Pozo, I know the case. You don't need to explain it to people. No, there wasn't, Pozo. You got the information incorrectly. I did a whole video. Go watch that before. Go out and watch that and come back. Go watch the video I just made 2 days ago on the case. All right, man? All right. So here we go. Let's see. We've got the... it never made it into cache. It's the 2:07 photograph of Abby. That's the one they're talking about. All right. Then at 2:08 to 2:18, 414 meters were walked. Then at 2:10 p.m., Terry Wilson, driving on State Road 25, just some random dude, at 2:10, was driving on Old State Road 25, right here. Actually, not Old State Road, just State Road 25, and sees a vehicle parked at the abandoned CPS building. Then at 2:13 p.m., Libby makes it to the other end of the bridge, and she was first. So after taking these two different photographs, and there's likely other photographs that we've never seen because they took photographs, but right here is where Libby was, and she got to the other end around 2:13. And so then it...
You bastard.
Hey, thanks, Yorkshire tea. You bastard. Yeah, there isn't an image that was deleted. It just means it never made it into cache, and I made a whole video explaining how. Right? See, it just shows you, man. Nobody watches my freaking videos. I mean, I make these videos, and I spend hours and hours making them, and they get like 2,000 views, and it's just stupid, you know? All right, then at 2:13 and 57 seconds, a video was started, and it recorded 43 seconds. So it was almost 2:14, right? And then at 2:14 and 40 seconds, the video stops recording. So that means they're told to go down the hill at around, 2:14 and 40 seconds, because that's right. You actually hear down the hill before the video stops. So it's right around that time, 2:14 and 40 seconds. Then at 2:14 and 41 seconds, Libby tried to unlock the phone. I mean, isn't that interesting, you guys? So the phone stopped recording, and it must be that she could feel that it stopped recording or something, because she, at 1 second later, she tried to unlock the phone with her fingerprint. 1 second later. Isn't that wild? And then at 2:18, 4 minutes later, you've got, and 2:18 to 2:25, there's no movement on her phone. So let's go back a little bit and talk about at 2:08 to 2:18, 414 meters. So let's say you're all the way back here. This is where 207 photograph was taken. And let's switch it over to meters here. Hey, thanks, Catherine, for the PayPal. Very kind, very kind. So you're right there. And let's go to here and here. And then likely at the end of the bridge, you kind of walk a little bit and then go down the hill. So currently we're at 171 meters. And then maybe they go down here and they're made to walk around. And they make it over to here. So that is 348. Okay, we need to have 414. So you could see if you just added a little jig and a jog over here, you know, who knows, but it's really close, right? I mean, it's 60 meters short, but that could be made up by not walking straight and just standing and whatever, you know, and doing whatever with your feet, but it's close, right? So if you go all the way back into this corner here, it's 361, which is 39, 49, 53 meters short of where, you know, with the numbers that they have. So you could easily make that up by maybe, you know, you're over here and you have them go over there, and then maybe they walk out here a little bit, just a little bit of extra spacing, and you end up with the right number. Okay, but it's 361 meters to right there. Then we know that they were at the end of the bridge, and then at 2:18 to 2:25, like, this is why I think this is the area here. The information doesn't work underneath the bridge right here, where if that's where he was going to assault them. All right, I think it's right back here where I've always said. And then at 2:18 to 2:25, there's no movement. And around 2:25 p.m., Brad Weber would be driving on the private drive near the southeast end of the Mononhai Bridge. So remember, he leaves at 2:02, and he says he could get home in 20 to 25 minutes, so I'm making it 23 minutes. And he drives right by here at 2:25. Then at 2:25 to 2:32 p.m., there's 66 steps, or 50 meters. So now let's go from right here, let's say, and you cross the creek, and how many meters is that? Actually, I gotta stop. Ah, crap, that just blows. Let me add that back in there again. So you go from about right here, platform 3, over here, and then kind of over here where you go down the hill and back around, and then maybe back over here like that. And that measurement is 367 that time. So you can see just a slight little bit of extra, and it goes quite a bit further. All right, so you got that. Then from this location, from here to right there, how far is that? So that's 51 meters. So it's getting close to the crime scene now. So it could be that the phone was, you know, moved a specific way, like it wasn't, you know, it was held differently. And then maybe around in this area, it started registering walking. Because remember how they said when it's in a car, it doesn't measure the distance correctly? So right there would be 53.1 meters, really close. So how about even if we go like that, that's 51. And then, but here's the thing. At 2:18 to 2:25, there's no movement. And then from 2:25 to 2:32, there's 66 steps. And then it said, and then at 2:28, Wesley McWhirter heading east on a Hoosier Harvest Store, saw a vehicle parked at the abandoned CPS building. So this other guy drove by and also saw a car there, and then drove by here at 228 Wesley McCurdy. All right, then at 231, so inside of the 225 to 232, the last minute of it, I mean, it's so incredible, you guys. I think what I just put together is exactly the reality. Look at this. Watch this. The last minute of it has a floor change. That's exactly where that is right there. Is that incredible or what? Look at that. So you can go to here and then say, okay, it goes up a floor, and then it still made it to there, and we're at 51 meters. But it went. You go up about 10 feet or so, right there on the other side of the creek. There's this huge bank right in that location. So I think my theory, when I used to think they went down to the shallow spot and up, is wrong. He had them go straight across, and it was pretty deep in there, and then they climbed up. That's why it's so high. What do you guys think of that? Hello? I mean, look at the timing on that. It's perfect. The only thing we're missing is like 40 meters that you could, I mean, did they walk a little farther this way and down, around it? We don't know, okay? But there's like 30 meters missing here, and then 51 at the end. And at the very end of the 50 meters, it goes up. And that's exactly where that bank is right there. It's incredible. Now, maybe it's 11 feet and it registered 2 floors, or that shit just isn't really that accurate. I don't know. I guess if you have the floor, if you're down low and you go up 10 feet and then the phone goes a little higher, maybe it makes it look like it was 14 feet. And it does 2 stories. But anyways, I think that is absolutely on the money right there. Okay, so at 2:31, it goes up 2 floor elevation change. 2:32 p.m., right at that same time, the Apple Health app records its last movements. So look at that. It gets to the crime scene and never moves again. So it could be that they... here's what I think happened, you guys. I do not believe that the girls were killed immediately when they crossed the creek. That's Richard Allen pretending he didn't want people to suffer. I think he did whatever he was going to do on the other side, but he got nervous, and he continued to do whatever he was going to do. So he had them, like they probably... I do like the theory that maybe they took off their clothes, and maybe Abby was allowed to... got dressed in Libby's clothes and walked across the creek, something like that. But I think he continued to do whatever he was going to do over there. And because it doesn't make sense to me, unless you throw out, like if you're the prosecution and you want to throw out Sarah Carbaugh, that doesn't make sense to me that you kill them at 2:32 and then at 3, or at, what time was that? Like 3:57, is that right? Yeah, 3:57, Sarah Carbaugh drives by and sees a guy muddy and bloody. So that means he was still hanging out there for like an hour. Like, what was he doing for an hour at that point? Yeah, they weren't dry at all. I'm not sure who's saying that to you guys. Yeah, no, her pants were wet. Everything was wet. That's why the phone appeared to have a phone jack plugged into it, because it was wet. I did a whole video showing all these different things that the prosecution got completely wrong. Not the prosecution, the defense, excuse me. The defense talked about how, oh yeah, there was a phone jack was plugged in. It had to have been a person. Complete lie. There's like 20 other explanations. 9 that were in the, using ChatGPT, 9 explanations. Or at least a few, not 9 for that one. There was like 2 or 3 explanations for that, and then 9 for how an image doesn't show up in the cache on Snapchat. All right, we still need some coffees, you guys. We need some coffees. All right, so then we got, so 2:32, the Apple Health app records its last movement. I just think they were holding this stuff and had to place it on the ground, and he did what he was doing, and then he put Abby on top, however Abby got killed, she was on top of the phone, and it never moved still. It just stayed right there. It could be, though, that I guess, when it moves, how much movement is no movement? Then at 2:33 p.m., the screen was off. So I guess the screen went off at 2:33. So there's no more movement, but the screen lost its light, meaning it locked up at 2:33. Hey, thanks Yorkshire Tea again, you guys. Join her wave. Join her wave. No, the prosecution said that, Yorkshire Tea. They think that 2:32 is when they were killed. Like he immediately killed them over there. I mean, it's possible. That's not what I think. 2:32, 2 p.m., Apple Health app records its last movements. 2:33 p.m., the screen is off. Then I'm going back a little bit in time here because between 2 and 2:50, which is some of that's after 2:33, David McCain arrives at the trails and parks at the Mears entrance, and there was no other cars there. And that makes sense because he's the next person after Betsy Blair left at, I think she left at 2:11, right? 2:14. So Betsy Blair leaves at 2:14. The next person there was McCain, and he's 79 years old. He's a longtime volunteer and was a project manager for the Mononhai Bridge Trail. McCain had been to the trails many times, even as a child, and started planning to develop the trail in 2013. He has walked the bridge many times. On that day, McCain only walked to the beginning of the bridge. He used a camera to take pictures that day. So he just walked to the start of the bridge and he used a camera, not a cell phone. Hey, thanks, Miss Too Lovely, for the coffee. All right, and so it's interesting, right? Because I say 2:50. They said, here's what they said at trial, that it was between 2 and 3, but it can't be between 2 and 3. You know why? Because Cheyenne got there at 2:50 at the trails and spotted an overweight man who did not say hi back to her when walking near the high bridge, and that man was David McCain. So that means McCain must have got there around 2:30, something like that. That's why I put that in that time slot there, because he would have had to have time to walk to the Mononhai Bridge. And they said the Freedom Bridge in the article, but that doesn't match at all. Cheyenne didn't go to the Freedom Bridge. So anyways, at 2:50, Cheyenne arrives at the trails and spotted an overweight man who did not say hi back to her when walking near the high bridge. So this man was David McCain. So I would say that was probably like 2:30, 2:40. And then at 3:11 p.m., Derek German, so again, like 2:50 is when Cheyenne got there. Just 21 minutes later, Derek German, Libby and Kelsey's father, drives over the Wilson Bridge coming back from Frankfort, Indiana. So this is the Wilson Bridge right here. At 3:11, he called Libby. He remembers that. That's something I had in my interviews from a long time ago. He was all the way down in Frankfort, right there. He was taking images, taking photographs for Libby's, for Becky's appraisal business. And then when he came back, he was going to stop by the bridge and pick them up. So when he drove back, he came all the way up here and right there. So he obviously came up like this and then went over the Wilson Bridge. And then he said, where the hell is it? Oh, it's over here. At 3:14, Derek arrives. So, he's right here at 3:11 calls, and then at 3:14 he makes his way to right here, and right at the parking spot. So at that time, McCain's car was likely parked there, and I think Cheyenne's car. So when Derek got there, there was at least 2 cars parked there. All right. So 3:14 p.m. Derek arrives at the parking spot across from the Mears farm, calls Libby, and she doesn't answer. Then at 3:16 to 3:29 p.m. approximately, David McCain sees Derek German. So I have a window of time here. At 3:16 to 3:29, so it must be around in between that time, because Derek is making the phone call at 3:14 and then got out of his car at 3:15, and then sometime between 3:16 and 3:29, David McCain sees Derek German in a bright orange jacket yelling, "Have you seen the girls?" Likely, "Have you seen my 2 girls?" These are the words that McCain used. And then at 3:30 p.m., Derek was still getting no answers from Libby's phone. Okay? And then at 3:30 to 4 p.m., approximately, Derek walks to the Freedom Bridge and back. All right? Then at 3:57 p.m., Sarah Carbaugh drives east by the Hoosier Harvest Store and passes people getting ready to search for Abby and Libby. She claims to have driven by bridge guy who was muddy and bloody. All right, so right here, she drives by the Hoosier Harvest Store at 3:57. That's a verified fact. And then sees multiple people right here. And then she claims she passed Richard Allen, the bridge guy, muddy and bloody guy. Now, they threw that out, the jury did. It might be because she took 3 weeks to say something. And it just doesn't matter that much. It's interesting, though, when she says she saw these people at 3:57, Becky, Tara, everybody showing up to start looking for Abby and Libby. And then at 4 p.m., approximately, David McCain leaves the trails. He went back to his vehicle that was parked right here. And that's interesting because when Becky said she got there, she said there was no place to park. So she had to park in the ditch across the street, and that makes sense because there would have been 3 cars parked there. It would have been McCain, Cheyenne, Derek, and maybe there was another one too. Don't know. All right, so then it was, that was at 4 p.m. David McCain leaves the trails back to his vehicle across from the Mears. He was surprised at how many vehicles were there. So again, isn't that interesting? When McCain came out, he was surprised at all the different vehicles that had shown up. So he saw the same cluster of vehicles that Sarah Carbaugh saw. And he was surprised at how many vehicles were there. This is similar to what Sarah Carbaugh observed. And then at 4 p.m., Kelsey learned her sister was missing. So right around the same time, somebody called her, got a hold of her, said, "Hey, Libby's missing." Then at 4:06 p.m., as the girls' family members began their frantic search, Libby's grandmother sent her a text message. So Libby, Becky sent, let me write this differently. Man, their frantic search, Libby's grandmother sent a text message to Libby. That was followed by multiple exclamation points. It said, "You need to call me now." All right. And then at 4 to 4:30, Mike normally gets off of work. Mike Patty. Then at 5:15 p.m., Mike parked at the Mears property, according to Becky. Also at 5:15 p.m., Deputy Mitch Catrone stated he talked to Brad Weber because they were already showed up at the scene. He was like the first guy out there. He went and talked to Brad Weber, who's the son of Kay Weber, who lived at the end of the private drive on North 625 West. Catrone searched Weber's property but didn't look inside 2 of the buildings. Weber was not covered in sweat and was not covered in blood and didn't look disheveled. Then at 5:20 p.m., police were called. So like I'm not sure when he says deputy was there at 5:15. I think that might be the one that Mike knew. But apparently Becky, they actually called the police formally at 5:20. But there was an officer that Mike knew that he called. So I'm not sure if that's why there's a, the timeline difference there. But then at 7:01 p.m., Delphi Fire Chief Daryl Sterrett notified of the missing girls. Then at 7:10 p.m., he left to go to Unified Command. Then at 9:30 or 10 p.m., Daryl Sterrett, he took a crew of 6 people with him to search the trails for the girls. Sterrett took his personal vehicle and the volunteers took 2 fire trucks. He ordered crews to search north, south, east, and west of the bridge, which, to me, you know what that means? That means they're looking north, south, east, and west. They didn't go over here. I mean, there was no reason you'd cross the creek, because if you fell off the bridge, you're not falling on the other side of the creek over there. Why would the girls cross the creek in a normal situation, right? So they didn't look over here. Then at 10:32 p.m., February 13th, 4:33 a.m., so between 10:32 and 4:33 a.m. on February 14th, Libby's phone stopped receiving notifications. So during that time, so for about a 6-hour period of time, it stopped receiving notifications, and then 20 SMS text messages notifications came in. So probably somehow a signal was received. The phone wasn't off, though. And then at 2 a.m., police ended their search, according to Steve Mullen, who is a current investigator, but at the time was the Delphi police chief. 2:30 a.m. on February 14th, Sterrett left the scene. So they were searching for till late. And then at 4:34 a.m., February 14th was the last signal her phone received. So that's kind of where I end it. Isn't that crazy, though, you guys? I mean, when you put it all together like that, it's just, it's pretty wild. It's just a complete picture where it all just kind of makes sense. I mean, we could go to the next stuff where we say, oh, and then the next day the bodies were... I'm just trying to do this portion, which is kind of relevant, when they were found and so forth. Doesn't there's no material there for the defense to go after. So I'm going to make a video of this. Do you think people would be interested in watching it? I mean, maybe you guys won't be, but I'm sure you'd still like to watch it. I think it's... if you can think of any other elements of time frame during this, let me know. It seems like it's almost all completely covered, though. The phone did some weird things after it hit the water, like the phone jack and the sporadic connecting the towers. Yeah, that's just not it, though, Pozo. We got it all. I got it dialed in, man. It wasn't sporadic anything. It just, the phone was down a hill. Cold temperature makes a difference, Yeah, it's crazy how it all kind of comes together right there. Like to say, oh, the water made it so that there wasn't a call coming in. I don't know. That's just... You state things as facts a lot when you can't really do that. Just say you think this or you think that. I'll respect it more. The girl that Libby texted and asked if they were still at the bridge was one of the 4 girls. Right, it's Bree Wilbur. And I think that what happened is like, I think if I go back up there again, where was that? I think it was right here. So 1:39, this is likely just after they're leaving the house. Libby's looking at Snapchat, viewing. It says Snapchat viewing, and That's where Bree posted an image of them near the Monenhigh Bridge, and it was on Snapchat. So I'm thinking that that is the time that Libby saw that, and then sent a message, and then Bree said, we left 10 minutes ago, which is interesting, right? Because this is 126. 10 minutes ago would be 129. And so they're probably like right over in this area, just kind of chilling, walking slowly, going, oh yeah, we left 10 minutes ago. And that would be 139 when she replied to that. And then just 6 minutes later, they're walking over here, and that's when Betsy Blair goes underneath the bridge. Yeah, I know. Just word things like you think this or think that. I know you're not like trying to sound like that, but every comment you make is like an authoritarian, you know, like, oh, I've got it. Yeah, this is the answer. And it's like, I don't know, man. Yeah, it's crazy. This whole thing fits. Should I go through it again? I got to work on it so it's more smooth. Yeah. But hey, you guys, let's get some super chats going on this later stream tonight. And some coffees. You guys know how important it is. At the end of each month, I donate thousands of dollars. It's not looking great for this month currently, but maybe we'll have some luck and get things moving along. But if you guys can help support the channel, I would appreciate it. You can also do the buy me a coffees or the super thanks, or not super thanks. What is the other one? Stickers, super chats, PayPal, whatever, right? The thing is my position in this case isn't the popular opinion amongst all the crazy people on the internet. Okay, if I was out there selling that Richard Allen was innocent, I'd have 1,000 people watching right now because I would do it better than they do it. Right? But I can't sell my soul like that. I just literally say what the reality is, and whatever that is, it is, right? Thanks, Miss Too Lovely. There's a lot of these YouTubers out there will sell their soul for subs and views. I wish I just have to sell my soul to help get support for the channel. Hey, you guys, can you help support my channel? That's the part that I don't like having to do, but all right, I'm going to do it again. You ready, Cindy? Here we go. It's at 12:15 p.m. Bree Wilbur and her 3 friends were at the Freedom Bridge, which is right here. And at 12:43 p.m., Bree Wilbur and her 3 friends are over here at the Freedom Bridge. How long they were there? They might have been there for a while. We don't know. They took a picture, and they did not see Bridge Guy during that entire time. So Richard Allen's second story, when he said he got there at 12 and left at 1:30, is becoming increasingly at this time more bogus, because the girls got here at 12:15, just 15 minutes after he claimed he got there. And they didn't see him the whole time, and they were over here at the bridge. But Richard Allen said he went to the bridge and, went to the Monenhigh Bridge. He didn't mention platform. Well, let's see. Yes, he did. He said he was on platform 1. So that means he went to the bridge. The girls didn't see him there. Then they walk all the way back this way, right? But we're not at that point yet. Right around in between 12:43 and 1:26, Richard Allen actually leaves his house at 1:16 p.m. over here, and I think he drove this direction, and then he goes up north 450 west, then on 300, west 300 north, and then he passes the cemetery, and then he passes the Hoosier Harvest Store at 1:27 and 35 seconds. But 1 minute prior to that, those same the 4 girls were right here at 1:26. So that means from 12:43 to 1:26 to get here, we don't know what they were doing, just walking, chilling, talking, whatever. At 1:26, they were right here, though. They took a picture at the bench. And then 1 minute later, at 1:27, 35 seconds, Richard Allen drives by the Hoosier Harvest Store. So likely he parks his car at 1:28 and some odd seconds. Maybe he gets out of his car at 1:29, 1:30. And so at 1:31, and then also my notes here say from 1:31, just to put it in there time-wise, to 2:08, Libby took 1,682 steps, or 707.34 meters. Now, 613 of those meters is how long it is from the Mears parking to platform number 3, where the image of Abby was taken at 2:07. And then approximately 94 meters were at home. So 94 of those meters that are measured were when Libby was actually at her house, because they didn't even leave the house until 1:38-ish, sometime around there. You see what I'm saying? So some of that walking was over at her own house, just walking around, like, okay, I could see that, 90 meters, just go to the living room, go to the bathroom, walk over here, walk over there. It just is what it is. And then at 1:33 p.m., approximately, Richard Allen passes those 4 girls as they were nearing the Freedom Bridge. All right, so here's the 4 girls right here. They left the bench, and then, 7 minutes after leaving the bench, and just 4 minutes after Richard Allen got out of his car, he passes the 4 girls right here. Now, right when the woods start. And then the description was that it was a warmer day and he was dressed in many layers and had a heavy jacket. He was walking with a purpose, like he knew where he was going. And then at 1:37 p.m., approximate time, Kelsey, Libby, and Abby left the house. I would actually think it's more like, it's just an approximation. And then at 1:38, that makes sense. Then at 1:38 p.m., Kelsey called her then boyfriend. And I think that's when they actually got in the car and started driving, or right after they left. And then 1:38:49, and this is all over here. So let's just this is way up here at the house over here. Kelsey called her boyfriend. And then at 1:38:49 p.m., Libby called her father, because remember, Becky said, you can only go to the park if you have a ride home. And so she's like, yeah, I have one, but she didn't really. But on the way, just as they were leaving, she called her dad and asked for a ride home, and he said, sure. She had him listed as Daddy O in her contact list. This call lasted 35 seconds, so it started at 1:38:49. Libby asked her father to pick them up in a few hours. And then at 1:39:08, so just 19 seconds later, Libby's phone registers that it's being charged. And then at 1:39:24 p.m., the 35-second phone call ends with her dad. And then 6 seconds after that, she had her second interaction with a messaging app. Now, is that Snapchat? Because just 15 seconds later, at 1:39:45, she does a Snapchat viewing. And I think perhaps this is when Libby saw that Bree's image in Snapchat was at the bridge and messaged her asking if they were still at the bridge. Bree told Libby they had left about 10 minutes ago. So I would think that was at 1:39, and it makes sense. Watch this, because right here, the girls were at the bench at 1:26. So when they were walking, probably about 1:28, they're right there, or 1:29 right there. That's where they would be. But the call came at 1:39, and those 4 girls are still kind of hanging out over here, because they don't cross over here till 1:44. So that means at 1:39, when they got the text message about 10 minutes ago, they were right here. So they had already, left the park, and that's just I'm just thinking that's what it means. Oh, jeez, Cindy. Oh, God. Here we go. This messaging app, it's got to be something bigger. Right. So, anyways, it was right. I'm just trying to picture how that works. So 139 says, hey, you guys still there? We left 10 minutes before. So I think they're already kind of over here, so they've left the trails. And she says, yeah, we left 10 minutes ago. And you know how people are, it's just not like 100%. Like it could have been 15, 20 minutes. And then at 1:41 and 44 seconds, Libby posted a picture. So this is while they're driving. They're like 2 minutes into the drive. Libby posted a picture to Snapchat sticking her tongue out. And she's in the passenger seat. And then 2 minutes after that, she posted a picture of the girls in car to Snapchat smiling from the front passenger seat. Abby's in the back seat with a blank expression. And then at 1:44 p.m., that's about the time where Richard Allen makes it to the bridge. So after he passed the 3 girls over here, the 4 girls, he walks this direction, and about 1:44 he would make it to the start of the bridge. Also at 1:44, Betsy Blair drives under Old State Road 25. So just as he's reaching there, those 4 girls are walking underneath Old State Road 25, or over the top of it, and then Betsy Blair drives underneath it, comes around, and then her vehicle at 1:46 drives by the Hoosier Harvest Store on her way to the park across from the Mears Farm, way to park across from the Mears Farm. She had just used the bathroom at the Delphi Library and was going back to the trails for her 3rd loop. Hey, thanks, Karen Hick. Yeah, let's see. But come on, you guys. Just help support the channel tonight. Absolute struggling lately. And you guys know all the good stuff that we do, so see if you can do it. Alright. We were at 1. I just wanted to reword what I wrote there. So 1:46. Betsy Blair drives by the Hoosier Harvest Store, and this is going to be her 3rd loop for the day. She parks her car, must have been, around 1:47, gets out, and then walks down the trail. So it's like 1:46, she drives by the Hoosier Harvest Store, then 1:49 p.m., Kelsey drives by right here. So just very shortly after Betsy Blair got out, Kelsey drives by here. Kelsey also says that Becky said that Kelsey parked here and waited for the girls to kind of walk down the trail a little bit. And then at 1:53 p.m. approximately, Betsy arrives at the bridge. So Betsy Blair arrives after, she gets out of her vehicle at 1:47 and then arrives at the bridge at around 1:53. And she actually only made it to the barricade, which is right there. She didn't actually make it to the bridge, which was 50 feet from here. She was literally 111 feet from platform 1, so her remembering and vision wasn't really great at the time. So 1:53, Betsy Blair arrives here. 1:56, after Betsy Blair turned around, she passes Abby and Libby right here. And Abby and Libby, who are walking slower, they're just kind of whimsically walking around. They get to the bridge, 2 o'clock, 2:01 over here. Then at 2:02, Brad Weber leaves Lafayette. And that's right here. And that takes, it says that it's a 28-minute drive, but it's only 21.7 miles. So I can imagine somebody being able to do that in like 20 to 25 minutes, because you're not driving 30 miles an hour. These are all highways and so forth. So, depending on the traffic and your comfort level, nobody drives the speed limit. So this says 28 minutes. You know, and the thing is, my original thought was, I mean, that could even be right too. So as they cross the creek, maybe it took him 30 minutes. They get across the creek, and then he panics when he sees the van up above. That's not the story that he told, but either way, each story would work the same way. Is this the exact same crowd we just had on the last show? I mean, it's just, what happened right now? Did the economy just get crushed in the last week? It's amazing. Then at 1:49 p.m., Kelsey drives by the Hoosier Harvest store just after dropping off Abby and Libby. 1:53, Betsy Blair arrives at the bridge. 1:56, Betsy Blair passes Abby and Libby. 2 p.m., Abby and Libby arrive at the bridge, probably 2:01-ish. 2:02, Brad Weber leaves his work. And then from 2:05 and 20 seconds, I mean, doesn't that make complete sense? That Abby and Libby get to the bridge at like 2 o'clock, 2:01. You know, probably they pass Richard Allen, who's standing here. He probably walks back here a little bit and waits and watches. And then they had to walk all the way over to here in right there in 5 minutes. So make it all the way to the platform 2. And you know what's interesting is that the new, I think what they were doing with this new platform that they built was they put it exactly where the picture of the full length of the bridge was taken. This shot right there is exactly where that stand is, and they were just kind of paying homage to this photograph. That's exactly what this is. See how close that is? So you're standing there, you look down, there's platform 3. Okay, so we're at, where are we at? Yeah, so 2:05, this picture was taken. And that's exactly how long it would take, probably, because Abby's really, she's not able to walk really quick across this. So that picture was taken right there at 2:05 and 20 seconds. Then at 2:07, this is the time that everybody believed the picture of Abby was taken. And that's 2:07 p.m. is the last phone time that the phone was unlocked, like 2:07 and 20 seconds. And it was, and I think it was likely unlocked to take the picture of Abby. So she's got the phone in her pocket, pulls it out, unlocks it, takes a picture. Right? Then at 2:08 p.m. to 2:18, the phone moves 414 meters. And that's from 2:08 to 2:18, but we're going back now. 2:10 p.m., a guy named Terry Wilson drives by on Old State Road, or just State Road 25, and sees a vehicle parked at the abandoned CPS building. 2:13 p.m., Libby makes it to the end of the bridge first. She was always ahead of Abby. I've told people that 1,000 times. Hey, thank you so much, RDWWDR. Somebody out there, thank you. And thanks everybody else for supporting the channel. I'm just trying to make light of my downturn recently, but just been the last month was a decent month. The month before was a good month. This month is not starting off very well, but we're just getting out of the Christmas season, and we've got the taxes coming up, etc. I like that lemon. Okay, then at so 2:13, Libby makes it off the end of the bridge, and it's exactly what I've been telling people for years, is that Libby was standing off the end of the bridge, slightly in from the right rail. And then at 2 p.m., remember Terry Wilson drove by, and then 2:13, Libby makes it off the end of the bridge first. Then at 2:13 and 57 seconds, you could almost say 2:14, Libby starts filming Richard Allen, aka Bridge Guy. And then at 2:14 and 40 seconds, it stopped recording. But that was almost, 2:14 and 40 seconds is almost 2:15, right? So it stopped recording, and that's just before that is when Richard Allen said, guys, down the hill. And then just 1 second after the phone stopped recording, Libby tried to unlock the phone with a fingerprint. So did she notice, oh my God, the phone turned off. It like stopped recording, and then tried to turn it back on again, but then got nervous, and then hit it. Isn't that wild? 1 second after the video stopped recording, she tried to unlock the phone with a fingerprint. And then at 2:18 p.m. to 2:25 p.m., there's no movement. Okay, so now we go back up to the portion where it mentioned right here, 2:08 to 2:18, 414 meters. Now, that would have started right here at platform 3. And then we've already measured it, so we got, the measurement is 367 meters. So 33 plus 14, 47 meters off. That's all. If this is the exact route right here. Now, of course, you could do something like, maybe this was over here a little bit further, and maybe they walked over there, and then they came back over, into this area for a minute. I mean, we don't know exactly what happened, right? Like, it could be like that. And that is 385. So now you're getting closer and closer and closer. It's an insignificant amount. Then, now that's at 2:18 to 2:25 when it gets all the way back into this corner, like I've always said. Look at that. Look at that perfect place to hide in the darkness. He was going to assault them around this corner where, and then that's when the van drove up right above his head, and he's like, holy shit, But they were there for 7 minutes, and that's probably plenty of time to have them undress. And then at 2:25 to 2:32, there was 50.64 meters. So I guess if I take that, now let me move this just slightly back, like right there. That's pretty good. That's 50.8 meters. So it could be that the phone was carried a little bit and didn't register like a normal walking. So just from right here to right there, and then she's holding the phone in a way that it's registered walking, and then across the creek, and then in the last minute of the 2:25 to 2:32, the last minute of 2:31, it goes up 2 stories. And isn't that amazing? Because right there, in the last minute of it, is a huge high bank. Yeah, I think I could have explained this pretty good at trial, like if that's what I was doing. Yeah, you know it because I've told it to you. Right, anyways, let's see. Possible, but even adults panic and unexpected. Who are you talking to? I'm gonna try to find the picture I have of there's a guy on top of the bank somewhere in here. Oh, is that a picture of it? No. I think that is the crime scene though. It's like right there. Almost 100%. That's the corner. So the crime scene's right in there. So look, I got these stills. Look how good that was. I think she's a little bit further back, but right out the end of the bridge. I've got so many pictures from a long time ago. Just looking for, oh, that one. There it is. See, look at this. So you're on the water. Look at this guy. He's right at the top, not too far back. And see how far that is down there to the water? I mean, let's say this guy is 6 feet tall, and let's just say he's a little far back. So let's say if he was standing here, he'd be a little taller. That looks like it's over 10 feet for sure. I mean, that would be 6 feet, and then, 12, 13, 14. And that's right across the creek. So look how high that is right there. You see that? Yeah, I know, it's crazy. Yeah, it is higher than you'd think it is. That's by a guy named Kyle Keener. So that's it right there. You got the 231. It goes up, and then it finishes the 50.64 meters. So possibly when it's climbing up, it's getting a little distance too, and then it starts calculating again once they're walking. All right. Just need a couple more coffees, you guys. Just a couple more coffees. Then we can call it a successful night. Maybe. Let's see. All right, then around 2:20, yeah, we already did that part. And then at 2:28, a guy named Wesley McWhirter was heading east by the Hoosier Harvest Store, saw a vehicle, so they probably drove by the cemetery. And man, it's crazy to think just down below, Abby and Libby are still alive for 4 more minutes. And then at 2:31, there was the elevation change. 2:32 p.m., the Apple Health app records, it records its last movement. Then at 2:33 p.m., the phone was so, the screen actually turned off. So that means it locked. Then, or at least, I'm not sure what that means. It means it's completely still, I guess. And then between 2 and 2:50 p.m., David McCain arrives at the trails and parks at the Mears entrance, and there was no other cars. David McCain is 79 years old and is a longtime volunteer and was a project manager for the Monon High Bridge Trail. McCain had been to the trails many times as a child and started planning to develop the trails in 2013. He's walked the bridge many times. On that day, McCain only walked to the beginning of the bridge. He used a camera to take pictures, not his phone. And then at 2:50 p.m., Cheyenne Mill arrives at the trails and spotted an overweight man who did not say hi back. So that's David McCain. And then at 3:11 p.m., Derek German, Libby and Kelsey's father, drives over the Wilson Bridge, which is right over here. He's all the way down in Frankfurt. He drives over the Wilson Bridge right there at 3:11. And then 3:14, he calls again right there at the parking area. And then at 3:16 to 3:29, approximately, David McCain sees Derek German in a bright orange jacket yelling, "Have you seen the girls?" So it's inside of that window. And then at 3:30 p.m., Derek was still getting no answers from Libby. Then at 3:30 to 4 p.m., approximately, Derek walks to the Freedom Bridge and then back to his car. And then at his car, that's when I think Tara gets in the car with him. And then at 3:57 p.m., Sarah and Cheyenne actually saw Derek and them in the car when she was leaving. 3:57 p.m., Sarah Carbaugh drives east by the... I guess I got to put Cheyenne in there. No, that's... We already got that. 2:50. Then at 3:57 p.m., Sarah Carbaugh drives east by the Hoosier Harvest Store and passes people getting ready to search for Abby and Libby. She claims to have driven by a bridge guy who was muddy and bloody. Then at 4 o'clock, approximately, it was 4 or after, a little after, David McCain leaves the trails back to his vehicle, which is parked right there by the Mears property as well. He was surprised at how many vehicles were there, just like Sarah Carbaugh. So that gives validity to that portion of Sarah Carbaugh's story. This is similar to what Sarah Carbaugh observed. And then also around 4 p.m., Kelsey learns her sister was missing. Then at 4:06 p.m., as the girl's family members began their frantic search, Libby's grandmother sent a text message to Libby that was followed by multiple exclamation points. You need to call me now, Becky, Patty texted. Then 4 to 4:30 p.m., Mike normally gets off of work. 5:15 p.m., Mike parked at the Mears property, according to Becky. And then he went to the police station. I mean, there's all kind. I've seen him in video at the police station. 5:15 p.m., Deputy Mitch Catrone. Catrone stated he talked to Brad Weber, who is the son. Now, that person might be the one that Mike got a hold of. I don't know. Who lived at the end of the private drive. So he talked to Brad Weber. He searched around. Now, didn't check a couple buildings, but he was not covered in sweat. He was not covered in blood, and he was not disheveled. Well, I think it's great, Mr. Furley. Why shouldn't he be? You know, just put him in general population. That was the only part that bothered him. He didn't like the solitary confinement. And let's see, 5:20 p.m., police were called by Becky. So the first person might have been a guy that got there. I don't know that's just what people's recollection was. And then at 7:01 p.m., Delphi Fire Chief Daryl Sterrett notified of the missing girls. And then at 7:10, he left to go to the Unified Command. Then about 2.5 hours to 3 hours later, Daryl Sterrett, he took a crew of 6 people with him to search the trails for the girls. Sterrett took his personal vehicle, and the volunteers took 2 fire trucks. He ordered crews to search north, south, east, and west of the bridge. At 10 p.m., Derek returned to the trails. See, this part, I don't know. This part, I think, was an error on their part in the document. They said Derek, in the trial, the notes that somebody took, it said, Derek returned to the trails. So, late at night, he goes out there and he searched by the ravine south of the cemetery. I think that matches more the following day, because it said something like the following day, they came running up saying, hey, we found him, and that's exactly where you would be, where you could hear that. I don't know. But anyways, I think I'm just going to get rid of that. It's too confusing, this part. Although he said it was pitch black, so. Anyways, they said at 10 p.m., Derek returned to the trails, searched by the ravine south of the cemetery. So that means when Derek went out there, he searched like right around in there. I mean, that's crazy, because that's getting so close. But that's where the ravine is. Right around, I think it's right in here. And it says he searched south of the ravine, but he'd have a hard time going up and down these hills, because he was pretty heavy. Hey, thanks, Sandy, for the bucket of coffee. All right. Hey, Karen, are you out there somewhere? Yeah, I think she felt bad the other day. I follow channels where the YouTube just takes the money from... What do you mean? I don't know what that means. Yeah, they take a percentage of... that doesn't happen, Mr. Furley. They take 30% though, which is a lot more than the coffee. Yeah, but it's so convenient for people. It's no big deal, They do the same thing with the ad revenue. I get the same percentage. Same thing with channel memberships. You never heard of what? Yeah, it's weird. I haven't either, but it was in one of the... You talking about that thing where he went back? I was in one of the pages. I couldn't believe it. Let me see if I can... because now that you say it was pitch black, it couldn't have been the next day, because 10 would be... Yeah, it was in this Carroll County Comet right here. Hold on. I was looking this up. Right. So it says, after police were called to aid in the search, German said he had to go to the police station. So that's Derek. With the rest of the family. He returned to the trail at around 10 p.m. that evening. They left, it says the left trail at Highbridge. I don't know what that means. Wait, the left trail at Highbridge. Okay, yeah, the left trail, yeah. So when you're at the Monon High Bridge, if you go to the left, it's very steep. So I did not go down by the water, he said. Instead, he searched the ravine which runs south of the cemetery. That's crazy, right? It was pitch black in the woods, he said. So that means he's right up there. That's nuts, you know? I don't know. I mean, the ravine south of the cemetery. So maybe he walked around like this and then... I mean, that'd be insane if he made it to right there. Because that's so close to the crime scene. He just didn't know it. That's not interesting, Cindy. Cindy's one of those conspiracy theorists. All right, anyways, it says right here that at 10:32 p.m., the phone, from 10:32 to 4:33 a.m. on the 14th, it stopped receiving notifications. And then all of a sudden it got 20 SMS text messages came in. At 2 a.m., police ended their search, recording to Steve Mullen, who is a current investigator, but at the time was the Delphi police chief. And that's the other way around. The phone was dead at 10:33. It wasn't waking up. Well, but Cindy is one of the ones that the conspiracy theorists just love to have around. Yeah, they get these little crazy ideas and they run with it, and I always just get frustrated by it because they're never true or accurate, you know. So I guess one day when you come up with one that actually is something, let me know, because you got to admit you're 0 for like a 500. I mean, it's just amazing. I know you think of these. Sometimes just think of something and then don't say it. You know what I mean? Like just think it in your head, and I guess a better way to do it. No. If you guys go back and listen to Andrew Baldwin, he is so full of shit during that little communication thing. You could see his eyes darting around. He didn't even know what the hell he was saying. It didn't even match anything. It's actually, Cindy, it's 10:32 p.m., February 13th, 2017, to 4:33 a.m. on February 14th. It stopped receiving notifications. So apparently around 10:32, it still received something. But it stopped receiving anything at that time. So I guess I could probably need more information, like up there about her cell phone. I just want the exhibits, for God's sakes, you know. You see what I'm saying? Like what I could do with it? The steps on Libby's phone are amazing. Yeah, I think they're just, that's incredible, really. You know, and by the way, at 2:08 here, maybe they walked and kind of just walked around here for a little bit and got some of those extra steps in. See, we keep thinking that everything's linear, right? Like everything's this perfect line. You know, for example, so they could have only been that Libby walked 70 meters at home, because out here they walked slightly curving around, stopped, did a couple of, and walked an extra 20 meters or so instead of just walking straight to the bridge. Yeah, I just need more timeline stuff. I think there's more timeline. I don't want to go any further than this, though. You know, like it doesn't really matter. Like the next day when they find the bodies, etc. The part that matters that the defense is going to give a shit about is anything up until the bodies were discovered. Because then after that, okay, their little conspiracy theories aren't useful. Other than it's a corrupt, it's a setup, man. I want to know if the phone was on a family plan and were their parental. Why? Let's see. I mean, why do you want to know about that? What do you mean by blackout times that were running on her phone? Like, if there's time. Well, no. I mean, the answer is no. You know. And we know that because they would have said that at trial. You know, they would have said, "Oh yeah, she's got this thing where." Look at. Let's do another Chat GPT. You want to see something? You guys watch. Chat GPT. Here we go. Can weather and temperature affect cell phone? Let's see. Reception, I guess. I don't even know if that's the. Let's see what it says. Yes, weather and temperature can affect cell phone reception in several ways. Here's a breakdown of how. Rain and humidity, water in the atmosphere can absorb and scatter radio waves, which may reduce signal strength. Heavy rain or high humidity can interfere with signal transmission, particularly at high frequencies like those used by 5G networks. Snow and ice. Well, it was pretty damn cold. Similar and like frost. Snow and ice, similar to rain, snow and ice can affect signal quality by causing reflection or scattering of radio waves. If snow or ice accumulates, and it was also under her body, so I don't know how that would work, but snow or ice accumulates on cellular towers or antennas, it might degrade performance. Fog, dense fog, and I think wasn't there fog or something out there? Increases the amount of water vapor in the air, which can weaken signal by causing more absorption and scattering. And then it says thunderstorms. Now down here it says temperature. Extremely hot temperatures can affect the performance of cellular tower equipment. Extremely cold temperatures can impact battery life in phones, potentially reducing their ability to maintain strong connection. Cold weather may also cause physical damage to infrastructure such as antennas or cables affecting reception. Temperature inversion. A temperature inversion occurs when a layer of warm air traps cooler air. This is kind of what I was thinking. Something like this. A temperature inversion occurs when a layer of warm air traps cooler air below it. This can bend radio waves and affect their range, causing reception issues. So even if the phone was underneath her, and let's say it was sunny for a while, and then this cold layer comes in, it wouldn't have anything. It just means that the signal couldn't get through there because it says it can bend radio waves and affect their range. I mean, I think that's a possibility. It's crazy, right? Tropoducting. In certain weather conditions, signals may travel farther than usual and interfere with other networks. Indirect effects. Weather event like hurricanes, minimize. Okay, I actually think that the one that I always think in my mind, but I didn't know what it was called, is the that inversion one. Temperature inversion, right there. And I think that could be exactly what's going on. And also, see, the thing is the cell tower was right here. You can see the shadow of it. See that? That's the cell. There's a cell tower right by Ron Logan's property. But they're down here, and it's way down this hill. And so this whole mountain's blocking the radio signals, right? And then you have the phone underneath Abby's body, underneath the shoe, and you've got a situation where it's very cold, and maybe it is an inversion like that. They couldn't explain at trial like why it wasn't receiving anything. The phone was not turned off, but they could not. Now, the defense tries to pretend that there somehow a Faraday bag or a refrigerator was used. Yes, because a lot of people, what they do is they carry around refrigerators on their back, almost like a backpack, and store their cell phone in it just so it can't contact the towers out there. It's really kind of a creepy technique. All right. And what was the other question I was going to ask it? Okay, let me clear that. Can being down a steep bank affect cell tower coverage? I mean, let's just see. Well, there you go. Obstruction of line of sight. Cell towers operate most efficiently with a clear line of sight to the device. A steep bank can obstruct this line of sight, especially if there are neutral features like trees, rocks, or the terrain itself is in the way. Yeah, that's exactly what's... See what I mean, you guys? It's like there's always an answer for something. Cellular signals weaken as they pass through physical objects such as soil, rocks, or dense vegetation. Being below the level of the tower can result in greater signal loss. Elevation and terrain. Cell towers are designed to protect signals over a certain range, often optimized for above ground or slightly sloping areas. Signals that have no bounce or scatter due to obstruction can lose strength and quality, leading to poor coverage. Yeah, look at that first one now. And it definitely is not there. Absolutely, you cannot see the cell tower from down here. It's a really, really steep bank. So basically, there's a mountain in your way with trees all over the place. So the cell coverage down there was probably really poor. Now, over on the bridge here was probably not too bad because it's up in the air a little bit and better line of sight. But down here, I think the cell coverage would be horrible. They should do tests and bring their cell phone down there and see what kind of coverage you get there. And just to say, yeah, they're just very poor coverage. And there's no technical meaning or anything regarding the case, but anyways, you guys, I'm going to get out of here. I just want to come on and practice doing the timeline. If you guys think of any other timeline elements to throw in there, Cindy, let me know. Anybody, really. But just, and I mean timeline elements up until the time that the last signal on her phone was at 4:34 a.m. And don't you think it's ridiculous when people say, what was he saying at 5? What was the part about 5:15? What was that all about? Remember she said that, yeah, what was it in my video? What was it that she said? I gotta go open that up again. Did she have it wrong in her video?
States timeline. Libby's phone was under a shoe, under Abby's body, from, let's say, 3:50, which is generous, 3:50 p.m. on February 13th until 12:15 p.m. on February 14th. You can't see, when you look at the crime scene pictures, I went back last night.
Who cares?
You can't see that phone that is under Abby's body.
And by the way, she kind of laughs after that, like, I'm not sure what that even means. What difference does it make that you can't see the phone underneath her body at that time? Are you implying that it wasn't there?
So, and we know that wired headphones were plugged into the audio at 5:40.
You know what sucks about this, you guys? Is she's saying this after, at trial, this was completely explained. So why isn't she embarrassed to do this right here?
44 p.m. on the 13th and unplugged at 10:32 p.m. on the 13th. And the only explanation for that is some kind of human 4 p.m. on the 13th and at 5:44 p.m.
Yeah, 5:44. Where's this coming from? The 5:44 p.m. comment. Let me go back a little bit.
Wired headphones were plugged into the audio at 5:44 p.m. on the 13th.
Okay, well, I'm gonna put that in my timeline then. 5:44 p.m. That's right. I don't think I have this information in there. Auger Auger said that, all right, let's just say it, 5:44 p.m. the iPhone 6 indicated a headphone was plugged in. All right. And then what was the next part?
13th and unplugged at 10:32.
So 10:32. Oh, interesting. So 10:32 p.m. to 4:33 a.m. on February 14th, it stopped receiving notifications. Oh, well, that kind of makes sense. A little bit like what Pogo, or whatever his name is, was saying, I guess, because at 2:32, if you get the same exact time that it looked like it was unplugged, could there be some sort of I don't know. I mean, that's just weird coincidence. I don't know if she's just mixing up. 10:32 is exactly the same time that the headphones seem to be unplugged, and that it also didn't receive any more messages. I don't know. I'm just going to put that right here. 10:32 p.m. headphone was unplugged. Let's see. Right, but think how stupid this is, you guys. So at 5:20 p.m. the police were called, and there's already one out there at 5:15. And at 7 o'clock, they're all over the place looking around. And right now, you guys, there's a guy laying on the ground next to Abby with headphones plugged in. All right, and then, 9:30, Daryl shows up with all the other crew. They're walking around, and then 10 p.m., Derek himself returned to the trail, searched by the ravine south of the cemetery. It was pitch black, and then at 10:32 p.m., somebody plugs that phone, takes the plug out of the phone. And then it sat there for 6 hours. So right in the middle of all this, there's this person, right there at the crime scene. But see, they know how stupid that sounds, so they come up with something even dumber. That they had to do, somebody had a Faraday bag, they were taken somewhere else. Hey, let's think through it, everybody. Okay, let's see. So the girls were taken across the creek. They weren't taken across the creek. They went down the hill into a car. They never went across. They were taken somewhere. So they weren't even at the crime scene at that time. And then the killers, instead of dumping their bodies 87 miles away in the middle of the woods, took them all the way back to the same area, right below Ron Logan's property, right below the cemetery, right in the middle of all the searching. They drove and put the body down there at 5-something in the evening. They're just, hey, is anybody looking? Drive by the cemetery. Okay, look at all those cars. Okay, take her down there. Take her down there. Yeah. It's so freaking stupid. Okay. So they think at like 5:20, 5:45, the phone jack was plugged in, and that's when they're already somewhere else. So while the people are searching, they're somewhere else. And then at 10:32 p.m., the phone was unplugged, and that's still somewhere else, right? And then I guess at 4:33, the phone received. So how come the defense never explains when was the body brought, or the bodies brought back to the crime scene? They never have. They can't answer anything. Ah, Jesus. Unreal. Anyways, thanks everybody. Thank you to Jessica Schubach, Martian, Bigfoot, Denise Miller, Yorkshire Tea again, MS2 Lovely, RDWWDR, and Mr. Furley. And also we got a couple, the new channel members. Then we had Sandy with a Buy Me a Coffee, and then we also had we had M2 Lovely buying me a coffee, and then we also had a PayPal from Catherine. Thanks, Gray, for all your hard work. There you go. Sweet, huh? Awesome, everybody. Thank you for being here. We'll see you guys later. And well, you missed it, so I went over this timeline twice. All right, I'm just practicing because I'm going to make a video on this, But, yeah, so we just added a couple more elements. So you guys see what I'm saying. If you find anything out there, give me those elements. That way we can debunk Cindy's conspiracy theories. All right? Anyways, thanks, everybody. See you guys later. And as I always say, until next time, be safe out there. And a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4. Yeah, I've been doing this true crime thing for quite a while now. And during this whole sliding
time,
out late, sliding in
one
late.
Person
sliding
that
in
is
late.
A
sliding in.
crime dissector,
Sliding out late.
I'm a
You have
certified
a
human
date
lie
with a mate.
detector. Gonna
Date
get
with a
ya
mate.
on a stretcher
You ain't
if
late.
you try and play me
You
like
got
an
a date
old
with a mate.
projector. Crime sector is my nectar. Professor Grayl's gonna give another lecture. Crime collector, freak connector, and I'm always gonna be a pup protector, fool deflector, interceptor, and I'm meaner than a spectre with a
I hope you feel
vector
better,
on
movies.
his spectre. With all respect, y'all, just remember I've a temper fucking check ya. I have no agenda. I'm no pretender, and I'll serve it to you straight without the blender. And in the end, I'm gonna send ya on a mission to reveal the true offender. Yeah, so I'll just get right back to work. All right, everybody? Talk to you later.